Hi everyone. This is part 3 of what will hopefully be a 4-part series on 100 Line Last Defense Academy. This video, and the series as a whole, will contain full spoilers for 100 Line and assumes you have played every route in the game. You don't have to, but I do recommend watching the previous 2 videos in this series to understand this one. The politics of the game and Eido's character are both extremely relevant to what's covered in this video, so it would be helpful to have a working knowledge of both topics before watching. Regardless, I still give no context for non-players. If you haven't played 100 Line, I doubt you'll get much out of this series. You've been warned. Okay, now that we've talked about the politics and Eido as a character, we have the tools to dispel an extremely common myth about this game. That myth being that the coming-of-age route of 100 Line is the fun route. There's this prevalent idea that coming of age is just this fun little romp where the game plays to shonen tropes and then they win with the power of friendship. If that was your takeaway when finishing the game, and if that's still your takeaway, this video is for you. I think this perception is one of the biggest injustices done to what I see as the best written route in the game behind Second Scenario. This game is making a clear, intentional point about the nature of war and the characters of Eido, Takumi, and the rest of the SDU, and the common consensus of the game just doesn't include any of it. So let's just get into it. Why do I think this route is as good as it is? I feel like I say this every video, but 100 Line routes play on tropes, and when it comes to coming of age, everyone knows what it's playing on. It's right in the name. This is a coming of age shonen adventure for the ages, and that's great news because I love shonen. Dragon Ball, One Piece, and JoJo are all anime I've been obsessed with for years at a time each, and Akihiro Togawa, the writer of this route, is right there with me. Because the route is excellent as a grand shonen adventure. There's hype moments in Aura with easily the coolest Takumi showing in the game. There's lighthearted bonding moments with the fireworks festival and slumber parties. There's even a literal beach episode where Nozomi and Kurara settle their differences with a classic scuffle and hug. And then we have a third act drama where Takumi's attempt at a lie is exposed and the group is fractured, so the remaining members band together and trust in each other, and we have a tear-jerking scene where one of us bravely sacrifices themselves for another, only for our problems to be revealed as a scheme by the hidden traitor within our midst. All hope seems lost until the power of friendship comes in at the last second to save the day, and the villain is defeated, and wait a minute, weren't we fighting a war? There's an inherent contradiction in including a route like this in your game. The stuff that happens in this route is both really fun and entertaining. It's extremely easy to just have fun with this route as the shonen romp it is, and many do. But I've said it before and I'll say it again. These are soldiers. 100 Line is a colonization project. And when you keep that in mind, a few questions rear their heads. The biggest one being, what the hell are we doing playing around with a bunch of shonen tropes like nothing is happening? What makes Coming of Age unique is that not only did Togawa account for this, it's arguably the point of the route. A lot of genres work for this game well enough, but the shonen formula is completely incompatible with this cast and the war they're fighting. The SDU are not heroic, and the cause they fight for is evil. The second that that's acknowledged, the route cannot follow through on stereotypical shonen tropes about love and friendship and determination. You get a much messier story a la Second Scenario. So as a result, Togawa gives us a route full of contradictions and uncomfortable truths swept under the rug. This route stars an SDU at their most blind. Unlike Second Scenario where they acknowledge their role in the war and fight anyway, in Coming of Age they refuse to wake up to the very end, because any acknowledgement would break the spell. The signs are still everywhere. Valagarzo and Zenshin die in each other's arms, talking about their soon-to-be orphan child, and their beach vacation is blatantly polluted with the remnants of war. Not to mention Eva's entire existence. But if we acknowledge these things as the signs they are, then we'd leave the world of black and white morality and simplistic heroes and villains, and enter a more murky world. The ignorance makes for an extremely fun route, and we're meant to have fun with it. But there are still consequences to being this blind to the truth, and there are consequences to trying to squeeze this cast into the neat box of a coming-of-age story. So what were those consequences? Take a look at this picture. This is the final CG of the best ending in the route. It is undeniably framed as a happy ending. So let's play a game. What is wrong with this picture? The first thing to notice is the context. Veshnes is dead along with every other commander, and the SDU has not learned the truth. Sure, the missiles haven't gone off, but Futurum is pretty much doomed. Humanity will use that Shion clone they have, fix the missiles, and burn everything to the ground with zero opposition. This isn't unique to coming of age, this is the case in a lot of endings, but it's important to keep in mind. Because they didn't learn the truth, they've doomed the planet. The other cost is more subtle. Who's missing in this photo? Darumi, Shoma, Eva, and Eito are the 4 cast members that are suspiciously absent, along with Sirei, Nigo, and Shion. These characters being dead by the end is a deliberate choice, and with each one the root is saying something very specific about both their individual characters and the true nature of this root. So let's go through them one by one, and explain why in order for the SDU's coming of age time of youth to happen, these people all had to die. First, Darumi. To put it bluntly, Darumi is mentally ill. She is, time and time again, said to be an inconvenience to the SDU because of this, to the point where they actively ignore her at all times. If you're having a shonen summer camp experience, where you learn and grow and power up with the power of friendship, nobody is more likely to ruin everything than Darumi. Because she would see this for what it is, completely ridiculous and self-serving. She'd serve as a constant reminder of how crazy the way they're acting is, and she would want no part in something like this, that's for sure. So the root split begins right after she dies. No offense, it's just more convenient that way.
I wanted to say thanks for saving me.
Next, Eva. Eva dies because she is a brainwashed slave. In second scenario, the horror of her brainwashing is accentuated. It's focused on in all its inhuman detail. But here, it's so glossed over that it happens off-screen while Takumi is unconscious. The different framings of the same war crime are night and day. And then Eva is used as a punchline. The joke being either that she's brainwashed and is completely fine with whatever the SDU says, or that she's very happy to kill her own. But you can't keep a brainwashed prisoner of war in your team to the end. Some roots do it, but there's no denying that it's clunky. She's a ticking time bomb. If she stayed alive, you'd have to seriously contend with killing her in order to save Nozomi from her rejection symptoms, which would mean seriously grappling with the morality of brainwashing a member of the indigenous population. The whole thing would come apart. So instead of breaking the tone to acknowledge how horrible what they've done is, coming of age kills her in battle. Brainwashed to the end, dying for a cause she never believed in.
Kill me. Don't kill me.
Then there's Shoma. Be completely honest with me. Did you even remember that Shoma died in this route? When I first replayed it, I didn't. And it makes sense. Not only is he killed off-screen in a flashback, just like Eva is, but he's barely mourned at all by the SDU. He's less than a footnote. And there's 2 reasons for this. The first is the same reason Darumi was killed. Shoma is a vibe killer. He's not a loser in the way someone like Gaku is, where the mood is arguably brought up by dunking on him. Shoma just makes everyone feel kinda sad. His self-esteem is too low for a route like this. He's going to get in the way of the atmosphere. The second reason Shoma is killed is because, aside from Eito, Shoma has the strongest moral compass of the SDU. He's the only one who feels genuinely bad for Eva when she's brainwashed. When he's forced to kill her in second scenario, it breaks him, to the point where she's the only thing on his mind when he dies. And because of that very same care, he's the only one who can't sit idly by and let their brainwashed slave commit suicide for them. So he runs after her, and dies as well. Coming of age treats Eva like a punchline, and that becomes much harder to do after her death when you have Shoma meekly crying behind all of them, trying his best to atone for the crime only he will admit they're committing.
Eva, I'm just so sorry.
Sirei and Nigo die for 2 reasons. The first is so Takumi can be successfully slandered by Hiroko and the others that they were fooled by Eito. For a brief moment, they actually confront the reality that was in their face this entire time, that these invaders are clearly rational beings with wants and hopes and loves, and then, because they were trained so well, they go back to dehumanizing them, this time as aliens rather than monsters. This is a lie that Sirei and Nigo would have gladly supported. The only reason they're dead is so that Takumi and Nozomi can get caught in the crossfire as well. The second reason Sirei and Nigo die is so that they can't prevent Shion's sacrifice. This is the one thing the SDU does that's not beneficial to the mission, and something they very obviously wouldn't allow, even if the missiles are already broken by this point. But aside from that, everything the SDU does is perfectly in line with humanity's mission. They bond as humans, they fight the indigenous population as humans, and they win the war for humanity. So while Sirei literally does die, it's not in any way that matters.
Glory to the Special Defense Unit, the hope of all mankind!
Shion is a special case, not just in coming of age, but in general. Shion is a tool of humanity just like the SDU, but unlike the SDU, he has no say in the matter. If suddenly he decided that this war of his was wrong, he would be stuck powering the missiles until day 100. Coming of age is one of the two routes where he gets to join the team and become a named character, which is what he's always wanted. He's able to feel involved and build a sense of identity for himself, but he chooses to give all of that up for Nozomi. His arc is one of joining this group and being accepted as a member of the team, and choosing to give back for everything they did for him. But wait a minute, how does that work? This choice, whether to sacrifice Shion or not, makes no sense. It mirrors the choice with Nozomi at the end of the route exactly. Someone begs Takumi to use their hemoanima for the greater good, and Takumi has to decide whether or not to let them sacrifice themselves, or to find another way. For Nozomi, being stubborn and trusting in your friends is the right option. A deus ex machina makes it so that they have it all. But Shion isn't afforded that luxury. When Nozomi dies, it's an unending nightmare. Bad ending. But when Shion dies, the day is saved. Good ending. This hypocrisy is intentional because it exposes the hollowness of the shonen manga format that this route is desperately trying to cling to. If you choose to refuse Shion's sacrifice, Takumi says he has no right to value one life over the other, and the route punishes you for it. Because while that may be true, that's not how this is supposed to go. Nozomi is the girl, the love interest. She's the one that should be saved. It just doesn't feel right if Shion gets to live over her. After all, if he's just going to die anyway, why not? He's not even useful as a tool anymore, right? So it's better that he sacrifices himself. Look, he even agrees. His last words are about how choosing him to die is the right choice. There's no need to feel guilty. And because he did agree to sacrifice himself, because he did fit in with the group, and because he did die useful to them, Shion's life is tied into a neat little bow. The story is told, and he transforms himself into their perfect victim. They fight their final battle with him on their minds and use his power to win the day. He is allowed to be mourned. The same cannot be said for Shoma or Darumi or Eva, who never really fit in despite dying for the team as well. Their lives were sacrificed, but they had no heroic last words and they didn't save anyone. They're the imperfect victims of war. There's no need to mourn them.
Thank you for giving me something to live for.
And now we're left with one more character. We've killed Darumi, Eva, Shoma, Sirei, Nigo, and Shion. There's only one problem character left standing.
Love and peace!
In addition to being the fun, tropey shonen manga route, Coming of Age is also known for being the one where Edo gets brainwashed. This is an idea that Takumi brings up all on his own. After seeing Eva turn good and join the team, it reminds him of how he and Edo used to be, back in the first 100 days. It makes him wonder if he could make Edo turn good in much the same way. Edo doesn't fit in with the group, he doesn't belong. Why don't we just do him a favor and fix that? Ironically, it was partially Edo himself that gets Takumi thinking this way. At the beginning of the route, when he's trying to convince Takumi to lie to the SDU for Nozomi, he says, "Grab hold of the happy future no matter what it takes." That's why you came back from the future, wasn't it? And so, for the sake of a happy future, Edo, like Eva before him, is stripped of his agency completely. Ironic for a route that began with choosing to respect the agency of Nozomi. And just like that, Edo is forced into the shonen narrative. He's back in the best friend role that he used to be in those first 100 days. But let's be serious. Just like those first 100 days, we know that Edo is putting on an act here too. So let's switch gears for a second and ask, what's going through Edo's mind through all of this? The first thing we have to establish is that Edo is undeniably the exception to this coming-of-age atmosphere that's been built by the SDU. His act is literally making fun of their attempt to sanitize him. His VA puts on a more breathy, whiny voice, and he turns the corniness up to 11. He sees right through this route and is making fun of it all the way. But everyone, and especially Takumi, is so blind they can't see that. But why put on an act at all? Edo tells us at the end of the route that he pretended in order to gain his freedom as well as the trust of the other SDU members, in order to fracture the group and betray everyone. But this is, frankly, a lie. There's a lot of reasons why we know this isn't the whole truth. The first is how much genuine effort Edo puts into this act. He hems it up a lot, sure, but you don't ironically stay up for several nights on driving simulations. You don't get Nozomi and Kararu to reconcile their differences in an evil way. These are good things he does for the SDU, and he puts in more work than any other member to make their coming-of-age experience the best it could be. Now you could still argue that this is part of the act. He's just that committed to tricking everyone. But the day after that beach camp, this exchange happens between Takumi and Edo.
Hey.
Edo seems genuinely shocked from Takumi to hear that he was clearly having fun in the trip. It's the first of only 2 times he abruptly drops his smile mid-act. That shock was real, and we know it's real because we know the real Edo. When Edo is freed from his denial in Goodbye Edo, he's able to admit to himself that what he really wanted was to have fun with everyone, and to be accepted and included as one of the team, even if it meant pushing his hatred of humanity to the side and giving up everything he fought for. He wants it that badly. And as this Edo, he's able to do that, even if it's just for a brief while. And then we get to the second time Edo drops his smile, the fireworks show, where Takumi tells Edo how glad he is to have him on the team, because the old Edo would never do this. The old Edo would never be as kind as him. The old Edo could never be one of them. What Takumi is telling Edo here is that his dream will never come true. Edo is mentally ill. He can only be accepted and he can only belong if he is fixed and defanged. The person he is right now will never, ever be seen as human. You can see him act surprised that Takumi genuinely thinks this way. He really didn't know that Takumi saw him that way. He contemplates it for a second, and then turns on his smile again. And of course it's after this that Edo decides to break up the team. It's telling that when he decides to betray, he doesn't just kill them one by one in secret. It would have been a much easier and cleaner way of doing things. But if he can't belong, then why should they get to live in harmony? No, he needs to break them up. It's vindictive and it's a tantrum, but it's his revenge. He tried to get along with everyone, he tried to belong, but who was he kidding? It was silly to think they'd ever actually accept him. Every story needs a villain, and who better than Edo, someone who is supposedly not capable of anything but evil.
Of course I was being sincere. Couldn't you tell?
It's at this point that we reach an ending split. Takumi has 2 options. He can either absorb Nozomi's cryptoglobin, or he can refuse. If he chooses to absorb, he breaks the formula. He's the hero, and she's the girl that needs to be saved. He can't sacrifice her in the final hour. But in this ending, he's so blinded by his hatred for Edo for betraying him that he's willing to do anything to take him down, including sacrificing Nozomi. And because this is not how shonen protagonists act, Takumi loses his status as the hero of our story, and that means he can't win. So just like this choice with Shion, the route forces him into a bad ending, and the battle ends with a draw, with both of them on the edge of death. Takumi then asks Edo why he pretended to be their friend, and Edo tells him the truth to his face, that he loves them, he loved their time together, and he just wanted to be accepted. And Takumi is simply incapable of believing him, Edo is a villain, and villains are liars. So they both die, refusing to understand each other to the very end. The other ending is even worse. Takumi plays his role as the hero valiantly, and he refuses to sacrifice Nozomi. He tells her that Shion told him to let nobody die, and that this time he'll save her. She tries to tell him to be realistic. She reminds him that he's a soldier, that this is a war. But she's wrong. It stopped being a war a long time ago. This is the coming-of-age route. So Takumi confesses his love to her instead in the heat of battle. Goofy music plays, and after a brief hiccup, we're back on track towards our perfect shonen ending. And in response, the buttons embossed with the symbol of the colonizer glow with the power of the perfect victim, and it gives our heroes the strength to take down the final boss once and for all. They hold their hands in a circle. Edo's own leitmotif is stolen from him, and it plays in the background as Takumi and gang shut him out for good. Edo flies into a rage and scrounges up every last scrap of willpower he has to try to claw his way out of the role he's been shoved in. But he fails. He's no match for the power of friendship, and he's at their mercy again. They're the heroes, and heroes don't execute people, so they won't kill him. Instead, they decide to save him, and offer to let him go back to his cage, where mentally ill, irredeemable villains like him belong. And he can't take it anymore. He'd spent this entire route trying desperately to break through the confines of this simple black and white morality of the shonen manga route, and he just can't do it. So he decides he'd rather die. He kills himself right in front of them, blinding himself so he doesn't have to see them live out his dream. His final words are again the truth. He did enjoy his time with them. He wanted to belong. And the SDU doesn't care. They cheer that it's over, that the villain has been vanquished. They won. Takumi says that he loves his friends, and Ima tells him that only he could say something so cheesy, as if the corpse of someone who did that very same thing for over 30 days isn't lying right next to them, just out of frame. Takumi gets the girl, and all is well. The same amount of people that die in this ending die in his first 100 days. But there's no need for him to travel back again. Why would he? The right people died this time. This is a good ending. Can't you tell? In a blog post made on March 1st of this year, Akihiro Togawa talks about what it was like to make the coming-of-age route. He was told that his instructions from Kodako were to write something more interesting than the truth. He says that he thinks he ultimately failed, but is happy with his route because love and peace has become a staple among the fans. But I think he did succeed. Coming of age didn't have to be like this. He could have made everyone survive and ignore the implications, tweak their characters a bit. But he didn't. He could have had Edo die in a way that didn't clash with the narrative or straight up be brainwashed for real. But he didn't. He could have ignored the plight of the Futurans entirely. But he didn't. Instead, we get a coming-of-age adventure that's falling apart at the seams with hypocrisy and a trail of corpses that will never be acknowledged. What's more interesting than the truth? Trying to bury it behind a smile. Clinging to a childish view of the world and refusing to acknowledge how many get hurt along the way. The idea that no matter how sweet of a note things end on, you can't help but notice that there's a bitter taste in your mouth that might have been there all along. What's more interesting than a true ending? It's simple. A happy one.